Oh, man. Okay. Okay, we gotta talk about it. We gotta talk about it. It happened, so we gotta talk about it. Episode 2 for Season 2 of The Last of Us dropped last night, and it is the episode that we have all been kind of waiting for. For better or for worse, it is the episode that we've been waiting for. Or I should probably say that it's the episode that all of us who have played The Last of Us Part 2 have been waiting for. And I just want to jump right into it, and I want to talk about what happened. So there will be spoilers in this video for the episode and for The Last of Us Part 2. So if you don't want to be spoiled, if you haven't played the game, if you haven't watched the episode, do not watch this video because, again, I'm getting into heavy spoilers here. That was the official spoiler warning. So now that we got that out of the way, yep, this was the episode that Joel dies. And I gotta tell you, man, like, first off, the episode is excellent. This episode was fantastic. For me, probably top 3 or top 4 episodes in the entire show so far. I mean, from beginning to end, it was just beautifully done. With that being said, there are some major changes that the show makes versus the video game that I want to go over. The first biggest difference that we get with this episode is the fact that instead of Tommy being with Joel when they end up inevitably being captured and tortured by Abby and her gang, it's actually Dena this time. The entire scene when Abby is being chased by that big group of infected was beautifully done. Like, great, a lot of tension, a lot of suspense, a lot of scares too. But then there's that moment where Joel saves Abby, and that's when everything clicks. You know where it's going, and it hits immediately. Now, I can already imagine that there's going to be a lot of diehard fans that are upset about the fact that it's actually not Tommy that's with Joel during this time. But I actually kind of like the change. Because in the episode, when Dena sees Abby right away, she basically looks at Joel and says, "Who the hell is this? Where the hell did they come from?" She's already extremely skeptical. I mean, you can see in her face and her eyes that she doesn't trust this person whatsoever. And when they end up getting captured, Dena ends up getting put to sleep, so she doesn't actually see what happens to Joel. The last thing that she recollects is that the entire group, Abby and her entire group, turn on both of them, and it ends up being like a whole ruse the whole time. And again, I like the change because I really think that this is a great building block for Dena's character going forward. Of course, we know what happens with Ellie as they try to like have some semblance of a peaceful life after all of this happens, but this could be a good building block for that. Now, don't get me wrong, I would have also been happy if it was Tommy like in the games, because we know that Tommy holds that hate and that anger for so long, and he ends up being the reason that Ellie goes back out there to kill Abby in the video game. Because remember now, Ellie and Dena were very happy raising their child, and it seemed like things were just going to be going great up until Tommy arrives at their place. Is that scene still going to happen? Probably. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Tommy still is going to be very mad and upset about what had happened. I believe that there's going to be some very interesting ways that they could still weave that part of the story together, only having Dena be the person that actually saw Abby. But I do understand that if fans are upset with the change, because again, having Tommy be there really kind of sets in stone how he feels about the entire situation and why he ends up trying to persuade Ellie at all. I just believe that they could still do that even without having Tommy be there. Tommy can still be very upset and very hurt. Speaking of Tommy, instead of being with Joel, he was actually back at Jackson defending the entire city from that giant group of infected. And again, it's very well done. The entire sequence of just shooting at infected, having them come up to the rooftops, plenty of people dying, as you can see. He's doing what he can to survive, and he's also trying to look out for his wife as well. Just really great stuff. That leads me to the second biggest change from the game, and it's the entire weed scene with Dena and Ellie. Doesn't end up happening because Dena is actually with Joel in the TV show. Instead, in the show, Ellie is actually with Jesse in this weed shop, and I don't think they end up smoking, really. I don't remember seeing any of them actually smoking on anything. But they end up talking for a little bit. They end up, just kind of like messing around, and that's when Jesse gets that call on his walkie that, both Dena and Joel haven't been reported, and they don't know where they are. And that's where Ellie gets really upset and worried, and that's when she gets out there. And now, okay, let's just talk about, let's get into the scene itself. Abby and Joel. The entire scene from when Abby first talks to Joel, or at least, reveals her true intentions, to the end where Ellie ends up seeing Joel, I think is the third biggest difference from the game, and I actually really, really liked it. In the TV show, Abby talks a lot more with Joel, and it actually sets Joel up perfectly for his now infamous line where basically he's like, "We just shut up and get it over with already." In the game, Joel doesn't even let Abby get through like an entire speech. He basically says something along the lines of like, "Can you just say like your big speech and get this over with already?" In the show, Abby does end up going through this somewhat like speech type of thing until Joel says that line. And before I forget, because I have to bring this up, I really loved the moment where Joel basically says something along the lines to Abby, "I saved your life." Right before he gets shot, and Abby says, "What life?" and bam, shoots him. I just thought that was a really nice touch. And then we know what happens. Joel is on the ground, Abby grabs the golf club and starts wailing at his shot leg. The episode cuts out of the scene for a little bit to go back to Jackson, but when we come back, we see that Abby's just punching Joel to death. I actually really like that touch. It makes it feel more personal when it's just Abby directly punching Joel versus swinging a golf club at him. And then Ellie comes in and bruh, you know, I just have to say something real quick. It gets so sick and tiring for me when I see people just randomly throwing shots and shade and hate towards Bella Ramsey for being the character of Ellie when she plays the character just so well. So many people just want to hate on her because she doesn't look like Ellie, but when the girl plays the character and acts, bro, she's bringing it every time. I say all that because when Ellie gets captured, when she sees Joel, there's this moment where Pedro Pascal kind of lifts his head just ever so slightly, showing to Ellie that Joel is still hearing her and listening and recognizes that. Bro, it was crazy. Ellie then recognized that and tells Joel to get up just like in the game. And again, Bella Ramsey is acting her ass off here. I mean, this could be Emmy nomination worthy here. The way that she was pleading and crying for Joel to get up and for Abby not to do what she ends up doing. I mean, again, it's just beautifully heart-wrenching stuff, and it just makes everyone look so stupid. All the people that have thrown so much hate at Bella Ramsey for no reason other than that she doesn't look just like Ellie from the video game. Anyways, I digress. Bella Ramsey was fantastic, and how she performed this scene was just gut-wrenching. The nail in the coffin for Joel was actually different from the games. This time around in the show, Abby actually ends up stabbing him in the neck. And again, in the game, it was just like a final hit to the face. And again, it was silent as it happened. And that's when all the emotions just started coming in. In the game, Ellie ends up getting knocked out shortly after it happens. But in the show, no, they end up leaving her there. She ends up crawling to Joel, holding his dead hand, sobbing. I just have to be honest. I haven't cried that much for an episode of TV in a very long time. Even though there are some ways where you could argue that this live action version of what happened in the game could be a little bit worse, I would actually argue there are some things in this episode that actually elevated those original moments. And that moment with Ellie and Joel together crying, that was one of them. So ultimately, yes, it's not a one-for-one remake of what happens in the game. There are some pretty major changes, or at least you could consider them some pretty major changes depending on who you are. But for me personally, I didn't mind the changes. I actually thought some of them could possibly elevate how the story goes. Or at the very least, it could elevate it in very interesting ways. Caitlin Dever was terrific. Bella Ramsey was terrific. And this entire episode was terrific. As somebody who has played The Last of Us Part 2 twice, I can happily say that this show is still doing the source material justice. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about episode 2, about everything that happened. And until next time, peace.